Okay.
Okay. All right, it's 5:34. If Debbie can't do roll call, I can do that.
Okay.
Vice Chair Rogers,
Here.
Commissioner Rand,
Present.
Commissioner Aguirre,
Here.
and I am here as well. Commissioner Campos is not able to make the meeting tonight. He's got some father duties he's got to attend to, and I've not heard from Tom Dolan, but we do have a quorum. Let's see, we've got the minutes from January 11th, 2022 that we need to approve. Did anyone have a chance to look those over and find anything that needs to be corrected or changed?
I looked them over. I thought they looked fine. I would move that we approve those.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion is made by Commissioner Rogers and seconded by Commissioner Rand. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those who oppose? Okay. Minutes have been approved for January 11th, 2022. We can move down to the active agenda. The public hearing, updated 2022 Sunnyside Comprehensive Plan. The Sunnyside Planning Commission will conduct a public hearing to receive comments on the updates to the Sunnyside Comprehensive Plan. The hearing is for the public to provide testimony on the updated plan. The results of the hearing will be for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to the Sunnyside City Council. Mike, do you want to start with that on that
Sure.
for us?
If you want to go ahead and open the hearing, that way whatever I say is on the record also.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and open the public hearing to anyone who's in the audience who might be out there. And can you tell if there's anyone on, Mike?
There is no one on except the Planning Commission members, Debbie Espinoza and myself.
Okay. So we don't have anyone coming forward to talk.
No, but by the time I get done, we may have some additional, I don't know.
Okay, good.
And then there is some
Great.
comments from Department of Transportation all related to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the comprehensive plan of the city of Sunnyside, and the Planning Commission has been working almost a year now on various portions of it and developing this plan with the updates. Basically, the updates is we went out and got additional information, updated information, any other things that may impact, such as changes in state laws, changes in court decisions, those type of things to incorporate in here. Any changes in the Growth Management Act that occurred since the last time we updated it. And then most of it, like I say, is numbers, housing numbers, transportation numbers, capital facilities numbers, what do we need to do, land use numbers, those type of things. So it's not a what I call a complete redo, but it's basically updating the numbers there and updating the map and updating the map to reflect what reality is and what we have done over the past probably 10 years related to the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan is made up of several chapters. One is physical characteristics, which is basically resource lands in critical areas lands such as wetlands, steep slope stuff, floodplains. Luckily, the city of Sunnyside does not have any floodplains, so we were able to kind of eliminate that chapter, even though we had a fairly long discussion on it, but it really doesn't apply to Sunnyside or urban growth area. Land use, we were looking at land use and some of the things that have taken place over the last years and made some changes to the map, future map, and corrected some things that weren't consistent with what we have done in related to the zoning map, and updated the numbers of lots and the number of projections that we need for future land use to reflect what has taken place. And also we've updated our map to include the revised urban growth area that the county did back in 2016. Capital facilities, we looked at our facilities and updated that some. I understand I have to make one change, that on the senior center, there's actually 20 parking spaces instead of 12. I was told that today by our Park and Recs coordinator that I needed to update that. So that will be a change I will be making once we're done. And then there's a transportation element that probably has the most updating in it because of our road systems and what we've done to our road systems, and more detailed on how we're going to finance them, because we're looking at some of the issues related to transportation and funding and how do we do those. And I'll have some comments. We have quite a discussion back and forth with Department of Transportation, and I'll relay those comments to you. As again, I say housing, we looked at new housing that was needed, future housing, how much do we have now, what growth we've looked at. One of the things we did talk a little bit about is strategy for homelessness, because under the new state law passed last year, we have to look at that. But according to Department of Commerce, we really don't. So it's really just saying we will look at it in the future when we actually get the numbers from Commerce that we have to look at. And then utilities is pretty much the changes in that. We're changing the names of utilities. It's interesting that quite a few of the utilities over the years have changed their name or combined with other utilities. And then economic development. Actually, see, I have a mistake there. Okay. So that's looking at future, what we can do to bring in economic development and how we can create our community so that we're more accepting to future projects and how we can help streamline them coming in. Okay, in relationship to Department of Transportation, they've kind of, and I'm going to have a meeting, Shane and I, with them, because I'm not quite sure what they're talking about, but it appears the issue is the interchange there where 241 goes into 84 or 82, excuse me. And what's driven that is we did have those apartments that are moving forward and eventually will come for you, I believe, on a conditional use permit for some of the facilities. But anyway, their traffic numbers were such that they triggered a concern on the inner overpass there over 82. And basically it's the leg that goes east off the overpass. And there maybe needs some improvements, but they wanted us to kind of, in our comp plan, provide more details on that. And the way they wrote it, they wanted us to do another analysis of the interchange, and I'm having concerns about that because really it's not our interchange, it's Department, Washington State's freeway. We're not designers, we're not, traffic study persons that they have. So we need more conversation. So there may be some slight changes in that once we move this forward to council. I just want to make the Planning Commission aware of that. And so I do have some wording that I'm going to put in there, basically relationship to other regional plans. And it talks about the Yakima Valley Metropolitan Regional Transportation Plan that does some of the coordination between local governments, state governments, and county governments on road projects. And they're kind of one of our funding sources for the city. In fact, we're getting ready to do 6th Street, and that's where that funding is coming through YVCOG, through the state, through the feds type thing. And that's my comments at this time. I'll open it up to questions and discussion.
Mike, on
Okay.
that interchange there, 241 and 82, are there any potential expenses that are going to be incurred by the city?
I'm not sure. That's for further discussion. What we're looking at is possible mitigation measures with these apartments that want to come in. They may have to contribute to a roundabout or a light or something on that overpass, but that's still under discussion with us and Department of Transportation.
Okay, I was just wondering whether or not they had been advised that was a possibility.
Yeah, yes. In fact, they did a traffic report, and that brought out that issue about basically level of service being impacted at just that one leg of the overpass, not the whole overpass. But what that will require is funding, and it may be some local funding, some state funding, some federal funding, depending on how it works out.
Right.
A lot of the projects like the City of Union Gap project was done through federal or state funds and federal funds that were appropriations.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
I had a couple questions, Mike, and I think you touched on them on your earlier comments. Chapter 4 in the comprehensive plan, page 107. At the top of the page, it says finance including, and it's got a few comments. That latter statement, if probable funding falls short of meeting identified needs, a discussion of how additional funding will be raised or how land use assumptions will be reassessed to ensure that level of service standards will be met. When do we look at that? When do we start to look at that?
so that would be a specific project. And that's the Growth Management Act kind of tells us we need to look at some of things like that if we have specific projects. And it's really difficult because, like, example is 6th Street, that we've been on the list for a while, and we happen to be moved. Basically, we were moved up a year because other jurisdictions that were ahead of us were not able to get their funding. So that's kind of the stuff that the YVCOG goes through, and we kind of use their process because that coordinates better with the feds and the state than we do. I don't know if that's answering your question, but what that's saying is if you have a specific project and you have it in the plan and it says we're going to do X, and you're not able to do X at the time you're going to do it, you need to have a backup plan.
I see.
And most
Okay.
jurisdictions don't have a backup plans for those. They table them or put them on the shelf and wait till they have the money.
Right. My second question, chapter 5, which is the housing chapter, page 151, at the very top, land requirements for housing. Using the medium growth projection, 866 additional housing units will be required to meet the 2040 population projection of 19,397 people. This would consume approximately 194 acres. I'm assuming this is in city limits. Question 1. Question 2, do we have that amount of acres available?
So this minimum growth projection is from the Office of Financial Management. They give us projections. And this is within the city limits and our urban growth area. And we do have 194 acres of vacant land.
Okay. That's good to know.
How much do we have, Mike?
I don't have the number right off the top of my head. I don't see it right this second, but it's quite a bit when you look at the. I'll have to find that number for you.
That's all right, but it's substantially above that.
Yes.
Okay.
This is based on the analysis the county did for our urban growth area.
I agree, that's what.
Can I let the record show that Mr. Dolan is on?
Oh, great. Hi, Commissioner Dolan.
Hello.
Mike, I had one last question. And you touched on it, so it might be a moot point, but on page 4 of our agenda, under water, number 5, does the proposal lie within a 100-year floodplain? If so, note location on site plan. And you said that this was not something we had to deal with. This is not something that was an issue for us, correct?
Correct. Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That
there's
was
no
all of my-
floodplains within the city of Sunnyside or its urban growth area.
Okay.
Did you have some
Commissioners, did
questions,
you have
Mr. Rand?
any questions?
No, I think that you've done a pretty good job on this, and I didn't get a chance to read all of it, but I've read about 2/3 of it, and from what I see so far, I think it's put together very well.
I agree, Mike. I think you've done an exemplary job. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
I think the planning commission's done a great job too.
I didn't have a whole lot of other questions, just other than the ones I asked. Tom, did you have a chance to look, Commissioner Dolan, do you have a chance to look over the comprehensive plan, and did you have any questions?
I did.
So I read that together.
I had a couple of questions, but I think after I finished reading reading further into it, I found answers to things, and a lot of this stuff we've already reviewed and covered, and it's just an amazing job of compiling everything that is anything around here, and I'm totally impressed with that. I think it's a fabulous job. Nice
Okay.
going.
Hello? Hello?
Yes?
Oh, thought I lost everybody there for a minute.
Oh, no, you're still on.
Did we have anyone from the audience log on while we were talking?
No, ma'am. There was
No. Okay.
no additional comments, and no additional
Okay, so we can-
comments came in on our comment line.
Okay. So we can close the public hearing.
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments from commissioners for staff?
I'd just
Okay.
like this is David. I would just like to thank Mike for putting all of his time since he's been here, or a lot of his time, into this and modifying it down so that if a normal person goes in there, I think they're going to be able to understand this a lot easier by looking through it. And I think that's going to help hopefully bring some more business to our town when people look in here and see the number and see that we have land available. Hopefully that'll bring more growth to our town with some of the urban growth area, and we can get a few more housing developments into the area to alleviate some of this housing stress that we have. So I really want to give you kudos, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. We've been working on this since I was a commissioner, I think back in 2015 or 16, and it was always a struggle. And Mike's leadership is exemplary in this. It's really great to see all this come to fruition.
I agree. Yep, I agree too.
So it looks like, Mike, you had a recommendation.
Yeah, what we need is just a recommendation, just to be forwarded to the city council, with the caveat that I will be making some slight changes to the transportation section related to Department of Transportation's recommendations, but at this point, I'm not sure what those are.
I'll make that motion with that caveat.
I'll second that.
Okay, so a motion has been made by Commissioner Rogers and seconded by Commissioner Rand that the Planning Commission recommend the draft update comprehensive plan be sent to the Sunnyside City Council for approval with changes and caveats to some updates. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose?
Aye.
Okay. Motion has been approved. And we have public comments next on the agenda. Any comments by the public or planning commissioners that might not be on the current agenda?
Did you
No?
say that?
Okay.
Excuse me. Did you
yes.
say that that second was by Commissioner Rand?
Seconded by Rand, yes. And was motioned by Commissioner Rogers.
I think it was seconded by Commissioner Dolan.
Yeah, I did not.
Okay. I can hear Debbie in the background, but I can't hear what she's saying. So a motion was made by Commissioner Rogers and seconded by Commissioner Dolan for the Planning Commission to have the draft update of the comprehensive plan be sent to City Council with caveats of updates and changes. So let's do that one more time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose?
Aye.
Okay. So motion has been made for this to be sent to the City Council for approval. And public comments, any comments that from the commissioners that is not on the agenda for staff?
I have a comment I'd like to make. Mike, this is directed for you. I was up at Yakima County getting a county permit here a couple weeks ago, and I picked up a packet for their alternative housing dwellings that they're doing now for state mandate. Have you seen the packet that they have?
I have not, but I will ask.
What I'll do is if you could ask them to get a copy of that. If not, when I get back in town, I picked up 2 copies. I could drop one by if I get in town early enough on Friday. But if you can just go ahead and ask the building department in the county, I'm sure you'll be able to get it.
Yeah,
and maybe we can kind of. Okay, and maybe we can look at what they're doing in the county so that we can get something set up for the city of Sunnyside.
Okay.
Okay. Any other
And
comments?
that's my only comment. Thank you, Mike.
I had one. I was approached by a gentleman or a contractor about building houses with a shared wall between the units. I spent a lot of time in Washington D.C. and about every place over there is those townhouses with a shared unit, and I'm wondering what the code for Sunnyside is on that. Why I don't see any of those being built around here.
Yeah.
I was curious as to why.
We currently don't have a code for it. And in fact, the preliminary plat for Dr. Martin was kind of based on those shared walls, but the problem is when we got down to it, we didn't have a code related to that, so we do need to look at that. We don't have the mechanism in for that particular, basically there's zero lot line
Yeah, that's what he
projects
called.
is what they are. We don't have that in our code, and that's one of the notes I've got for this coming year to work on.
Yeah, I was curious about that because I spent a lot of time in Washington D.C. in a townhouse with those shared walls, and I found them to be very private. You never hear anything next door. We were on Kentucky Avenue, and I never heard anything from either neighbor next door. And I thought, wow, we could be doing that here. And there's a lot of housing needed here, and so I told him I'd find out. I'd see what I could find out about it.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to apologize for being late, but I lost one of my students. He died yesterday evening, and I was out at the house with the family, and I remembered I had to get in here and get on line, but that's the reason I was late. I hope I can be excused for that, being tardy.
Yeah, that's a really sad loss. I'm sorry, Tom. Terrible.
That's all I had.
Okay. And do we have any additional items from staff?
No new items.
Was that a no, Mike?
Yeah, that's correct. No, we'll have some new
Okay.
stuff for next month when we start working on development regulations in relationship to the comprehensive plan. So,
Okay. Our next regular meeting is March 8th. My schedule is clear for that. Everybody else good on that date?
Yes.
Great. And
I should be okay on that.
And then we've got any commissioner member comments. I think we're okay. So it's 6:01. We can go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Mike, for getting this together for us.